Hi lads.
Hi mate.
Yeah, just we were at Brentford yesterday, and our end was just completely toxic. Like people arguing with each other, fighting with each other, because it's got to the point now where it's just toxic. Like we said at the start of the season, if we had a few bad results, this was always going to happen. And it's not the fact that he's Liverpool manager, which didn't help him anyway in the first place. It's the fact that he's just not good enough for what we want. He can hide behind all the injuries that he wants to, and he couldn't have asked for a better start of fixtures at the start of the season to start his campaign with us. But it's not good enough, and the players aren't good enough. It's just, there's so many things now, and he needs to go, and I think Liverpool will beat us by 4 or 5, and that'll be the end of him, if I'm honest.
You actually think if you do get battered on Wednesday, he will go, yeah?
Well, I don't know, because the board have got a lot to answer for appointing him in the first place. It was always going to turn toxic, as I said before, if we did have a few bad results. And I think this is probably going to be the end of him, because I've never gone into a derby before thinking that, you know what, if we do get beat, it's not going to be the end of the world, because we'll see the back of him.
Wow. Who do you want?
Again, I actually don't know who's even out there that would want to come into.
Duncan Ferguson would want it. Duncan Ferguson would want it, wouldn't he?
He'd want it now. And Lampard will be linked to it. Lampard will be linked to it because he's linked to them all now. He's managed Chelsea. He will be another player that's in there.
I mean, yeah, of course, Duncan would want it. And as much as I'd say I would want Duncan to have it, it could be like the Ollie situation where it mightn't go to plan. And I don't want to hate Duncan because he's one of my childhood heroes. And I just don't know whether it would work out. Maybe he needs to do what Gerrard done and go and prove himself first before he takes the job.
Very interesting. Graham, I think Everton fans, most of them... Well, listen, I can't speak for them, but Graham saying he's got to go if they get battered. And it's not like he wants them to lose, but it wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing.
Mashiri and the ball, they're not shy of pressing a button, are they?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sam's an Evertonian. What do you think, Sam?
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on.
No problem.
Yeah, same as the last caller, but I have to say that it is because he was the ex-Liverpool manager, you know, and he was destined to be hated by Everton fans, and I was one of them when he joined, and then he had a good run of form, and I'd never seen the worst Everton display than I saw yesterday. You know, we were appalling at the back. You know, yes, we've got injuries, we've not had a striker for a long time. But why on earth would you bring in Rondon, who, even at the start, he was unfit, but I've got one leg and I'm better at football than he is up front, and he's rubbish. He's the worst signing that we've ever had. And I was just saying to someone the other day, our worst signing before that was Alex Niarco, and, you know, he just does not bring anything to that football club, and we are going to get battered on Wednesday. And it pains me to say it because he's not the man for the job, and he never was.
Wow, it's not exactly a ringing endorsement, is it? 1 win in 10 for Everton, no win in 6, lost 5 of those 6. They haven't scored in 3. Let's speak to Richard, who's an Evertonian. Hiya, Richard.
Hello, buddy. How are we doing? You okay?
Yeah, good to have you on.
I don't think sacking Rafa is the answer, because I don't see who else wants to come in or who else is going to come in. We've had 6 or 7 managers in the past 6 or 7 years. We've spent over £500 million. None of the managers play the same style of football. None of the managers like the same players, which is why we cannot cope with injuries, because we've got no squad depth, because we're always playing catch-up on the previous manager's signings. They're all garbage. Let's be fair. Solomon Rondon doesn't belong in an Everton shirt. Alex Iwobi doesn't belong in an Everton shirt. None of them bring anything to the first 11, let alone the subs bench. So I don't understand where we go from here.
I would say this is an interesting one, because I was listening to Sunday Session yesterday. They were around the ground, Sam Matterface hosting. It was terrific, and they were talking about the Everton squad and which players in the Everton squads would other clubs in the Premier League want. Richarlison was one. Calvert-Lewin, obviously, neither of them played yesterday. Doucouré was another. So not all the signings, to use your word, as Graham, have been garbage. You know, some of the signings, some of the players there are good. These are the same players.
Well, last year we were praising Alan, what a player he was. It looks a real
Exactly.
deal for Everton. Decore was saying, those two could be really,
Luca
really strong
Digne,
together.
good player.
Yeah, Digne, one of the best wing backs
Yep.
going in a game. Yet they might need strengthening centre half. But Godfrey played anywhere in the back four. People were praising him last year. Got an England call up. So the Oldgate. When he come in,
Mate,
and
I think
started last season brilliantly, didn't he? Before injuries took in.
This is the key. If you look at the strength that they've got spine wise, they've got the England goalkeeper Jordan Pickford. You can't say that he's a bad player.
Gordon, the fans love him.
Well, the fans do love it. He had to be pulled away by one of his teammates from the fans yesterday. I don't think he could believe what he was seeing. But you've got some good players there. You've got an England centre back in King. You've got Godfrey who's being praised. Seamus Coleman, I don't know whether he can still do it at the same level he's been doing it for so long for Everton. You've got Decore and Allen in midfield who have been decent.
You got the wingers
up front. You're lacking.
You got Gray and Townsend. They brought in. Yeah, they got them for an absolute peanuts, didn't they? But they're two good players. They know what it's about. The game.
Let's speak to Danny in Evertonian. Hiya, Danny.
Hello there, guys. First time caller.
Thank you very much. Good to have you on.
No problem. The thing is with Rafa, I think he needs to give, the younger players like Sims, Dobbin a chance. At the end of the day, it might give them a bit more, time. Not like I'd personally want them to have a bit more time, but, it could sort of maybe, bring the fans a bit on board to have some sort of, bit more connection with the team.
Well, it won't if he plays them and they get battered 7-0, was it? Because people will say, well, he's just panicked and put all the youngsters.
I mean, against Brentford, instead of playing Rondon, he could have, give them a chance. We don't know what they're going to be like if they don't give them a chance.
Do you know what, Danny? It's a great point. And the bizarre thing about the Brentford game yesterday, he made one sub. They're 1-0 down at Brentford. He's made one substitution, like Gray for Townsend. So he's got Sims on the bench. He's even got Cenk Tosun on the bench. He's got two different strikers on the bench. He didn't even think about bringing those on for Rondon. And they needed a goal. Or to play with Rondon. Yeah. And they needed a goal. So does anybody understand that logic? Any wonder?
Well, fresh legs in midfield. Decore's first time he was back for a while. He's been out injured for a while. I'm sure he has, Decore.
And Delph was on the bench.
Well, that's what I mean. He could have brought... Delph's been injured, hasn't he? But he could have some fresh legs in midfield.
Bauman was on the bench as well. Yes, he's been injured, but he's on the bench. So I don't understand the logic. Does anybody really understand Rafa Benitez and Everton as a fit? It just doesn't feel right. And I fear for Everton in the derby on Wednesday.